In the following section, we'll be talking about understanding plagiarism in the era of AI. Specifically, in this in this section, we'll be talking about what is plagiarism. We'll be talking about the risks of plagiarism. And then we'll also be talking about the responsible use of generative AI in research. So what is plagiarism? So the dictionary definition of plagiarism is to steal and pass off the ideas or works of another as one's own. So you're using somebody else's work without crediting the source. And this is, of course, plagiarism in education in general is totally unacceptable and is considered as a serious breach of professional conduct. And then what is self-plagiarism? So plagiarism, especially in when we're doing research, we're often pressured to have these certain deadlines to publish. So when you're pressured to do something and it's a time deadline, then you often try to take some shortcuts. This might look something like blatant copying or improper citations. And this can be quite a problematic thing because research is supposed to be rigorous and it should not be something that includes plagiarism. So in that sense, it's very important that we understand how we can avoid plagiarism in general. So we need to avoid these common pitfalls. So we should not use or overuse self-citations too much. We should not use outdated or low-quality sources. We should not use inconsistent figures and claims. And we should not use uncredited or poorly paraphrased text in our manuscripts. And we should not have these sudden shifts in writing style, which really show that you've copy-pasted from somebody else. So best practices would include using recent credible sources, citing and quoting other sources properly, and also maintaining a consistent writing style. And for this, you should be following IEEE and academic guidelines as well. So there are 5 levels of plagiarism according to the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. So level 1 is uncredited verbatim copying of an entire paper or a major portion, so including multiple papers by the same authors. Level 2 is 20 to 50% plagiarism. Level 3 is less than 20% plagiarism. Level 4 is some level of plagiarism, so some level of uncredited or improper paraphrasing of pages and paragraphs. And level 5 is where you credit properly, but the format is not really done well, so it's not quite clear the difference between your citations and your own words. So here are some recommendations. So you should remain ultimately responsible for scientific output. So whether citing other people's work or whether you're using AI generated content, in the end, it's your name that goes upon the author list, and you are the one who is responsible for scientific output. So you should always consider that. You should use generative AI transparently. So often journals will require that you disclose how generative AI was used. And you should always, of course, be mindful of privacy, confidentiality, and intellectual property rights when sharing sensitive information with AI tools. So you should not be uploading sensitive information of like participants to AI without taking proper precautions. So here are some further recommendations. When you're using generative AI, you should always respect national EU and international legislation. So the ethics committee, what do they require, and what are the common practices in ethical research? And you should always, of course, since the technology of generative AI evolves rapidly, you should always stay informed on these best practices and stay connected with other researchers who are having the similar issues or are engaging in similar practices, and kind of form this community in ethical practice in research. And of course, you should be avoiding using generative AI in sensitive tasks like peer review, because essentially you are the person who are tasked to do that job, and you should be the one who is evaluating. Of course, it is possible to use it for like very simple tasks, but in the end, it should represent your work. So your own ideas, not AI. Otherwise, they would have just given it to the AI to do it in the first place. So here are some best practices. These tools are one starting point. They are not 100% reliable on their own, and you should always use alternative ways of detecting if something is AI generated or not. And you should always use your kind of human intuition. You should look at the structure. You should know the history of the person who is submitting their like text, because all of these together can give you an idea if something is AI generated or not, or if it's been plagiarized or not. So yes, you should not rely blindly on these AI detection tools, because a lot of false flags exists, and you should always cite properly. Of course, even if you paraphrase something, if the idea is not from you, you should indicate where this idea comes from. And AI generated text, if you're just using AI generated text, like copy pasting for, let's say, a research or for something else, you should always disclose that, hey, this is AI generated, and you should like approach the contents of this text accordingly. So over here we have a self-practice activity. So what I want you to do is to choose some kind of text online, not very long, from a credible source. And then I want you to ask yourself, oh, what is the main message of this text, and how can I summarize it in my own words without looking? And then I want you to close the original text, do not look at it, do not refer to it anymore, and write your own version from memory and add your own personal insight. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? How does this connect to something that you already know? And then I want you to do this kind of self-check in the end. I want you to see, did you actually change the sentence structure? Does it actually sound like yourself, or do you still sound like this original text? And have I sufficiently added my own thoughts and example? And then I want you to do step 3, which is to compare and improve. So compare your version with the original text. And then I want you to highlight any phrases that look too similar and adjust those parts to make them more unique. And then you can use a quick plagiarism self-check. Can you say that your own version of the text is at least 80% different in wording? And does the text actually sound like you, or does it not? And did you actually add your own insights? So the key takeaway from this activity would be that, well, paraphrasing is about understanding, not just changing words. And adding these personal insights make your writing much, much more stronger. And of course, self-reflection helps improve originality and academic integrity. So kind of checking on yourself, did I actually understand this concept? So in the end, AI is a very powerful tool, but you are the master. So you should use AI to enhance your creativity and knowledge, never to replace ethical and academic professional practices.